What's up, everyone? So anyone involved in the Darknet knows that one of the biggest and most active forums, I would argue one of the best, has been dark now for a bit. Dread is the Darknet subculture's go-to forums for things like Darknet vendor reviews, news, and announcements regarding Darknet markets, and other news like vendors or market exit scams. There's also your typical harm reduction kind of stuff and fraud stuff. This video is part of a new playlist that I've created where I'll discuss various news about information security, operational security, and the Darknet as it happens. As of lately, though, Dread has been all but impossible to reach. Those who spend any amount of time on the Darknet know that typically once you see a site go offline for any amount of time that those individuals would consider a reasonable amount of time, then it's time to start worrying if you'll ever see that site again. A lot of this has to do with Darknet PTSD. Much of the time, when a Darknet market goes down, for example, that's because it's exit scamming, and you most likely will never see them or your money again. However, this last time that Dread went down was the longest in its history, at least according to Hugbunter. In various posts on Reddit that I've linked below, you'll see that he described in detail the whole story. I made this video to give you a summary of what's going on though, so you don't have to go through all of that. For a few years, Darknet markets have been getting hit hard by DDoS attacks. For those of you who aren't technically adept, a DDoS attack, more or less, is the equivalent of 50 people trying to have a conversation with you and talking 3 times faster than they usually do. It's an overload of information at any given time to one server. The effects of this can vary from the server dying due to overheating, or just shutting down, or needing to be rebooted, or a bunch of different things. If the attack is constant, then sometimes the downtime is also constant. According to Hugbunter, since 2019, there's been one individual who has made a living extorting markets. He's been executing DDoS attacks on these markets if they don't comply. Even more interesting is Hugbunter claims to have regular line of communication with this individual. What is ironic about this situation is that when I met Hugbunter, he checked Darknet markets for vulnerabilities and then tried to get those markets to pay him for any vulnerabilities that he may have discovered. Now you see why I said that it's kind of ironic. In any case, Hugbunter claims that this individual's knowledge regarding Tor is excellent and that he has produced a streamlined attack and, as he puts it, allows the attacker to directly target the inefficiencies and how Tor works and how you reach a hidden service. Me pointing out how I met Hugbunter is by no means a shot at him. I have a whole video that is dedicated to just him. My opinion of him is very high. Anyone who attempts to promote security here, or any other place for that matter, regardless of the platform they use to do it, is an individual that I respect personally. The rumor is that Dread will be moving to I2P. It is another Darknet. A good amount of people use it. Tor still reigns as king. I2P stands for Invisible Internet Project. You can go to get-i2p.net. They say on get-i2p.net that it's a fully encrypted private network layer, that it protects your activity and your location. Every day, people use the network and connect with people without the worry of being tracked or their data being collected. Sometimes people rely on the network when they need to be discreet or doing sensitive work. From my limited understanding, the pervasive issue of DDoS attacks on Tor is not something individuals on I2P really have to deal with. For this reason, if this rumor is true, Hugbunter has found a solution to these constant problems. Hugbunter battling DDoS attacks, whether launched by for-profit extortionists or law enforcement, is nothing new. So, for example, if you look up Endgame V2 on GitHub, you'll see that a combined effort between White House Market and Dread was formed to try and combat some of the prevalent attacks that had been taking place at the time. This tool is intended basically to stop DDoS attacks on Tor. if you own a darknet market site or a darknet site. At this point, the next major revolution for those involved in the darknet subculture may very well be learning about I2P, how to efficiently use it, and the OPSEC surrounding it. For me, it's absolutely amazing to be on the sidelines watching this war. I'm definitely a fan of freedom, so by default, I'm a fan of Dread, and therefore a fan of Hugbunter. It will be good to see the forum get to a position where connections are reliable and easy to make, and therefore information is free and able to flow. As the old hacker adage goes, information wants to be free. This quote comes from Stuart Brand, who in the late 60s found the whole Earth catalog and argued that technology could be liberating rather than oppressing. I digress. I hope the people now that were freaking out have a better idea of what's going on with Dread's prolonged shutdown. I know there's a ton of disinformation out there constantly, especially on YouTube. In any case, I'll see you guys in the next video, and until then, stay safe and free.